Hey guys, Faxinator here from Ocean Swift Synthesis, and I'd like to present to you our synth, the Pi2525 for the Sonic Core Scope Fusion platform. So as you see, this is a 2-oscillator synth with one main filter and a lot of additional modulation options and effects. And the core of the sound for the synth comes from the oscillators and the filter combination. This is what makes this machine. So let's take a look at the various options. If we look at the oscillators, like I said, 2 oscillators. And let's take a look first at OSC2 actually, which has basic waveforms, sine, tri, saw, square, and white noise with extensive modulation. OSC2 can also be synced to oscillator 1, and it also has an aftertouch control which is bipolar for the pitch of the oscillator. So you can kind of play around also with the channel aftertouch and add a cool touch by just aftertouching just one of the oscillators. The first oscillator is much more elaborate and has a lot more going on than the second one. The regular wave shapes are present, sine, tri, saw, square, as we said. But once we get over here to noise, it is no longer white noise as in oscillator 2, it is colored noise. When you are on this wave shape, on the noise wave shape, these 3 buttons that are otherwise dormant, they become active, and you have a cutoff and resonance and a sweep option for the noise. The sweep comes from this pitch sweep LFO over here, which is a full-fledged LFO. So you get a really colored and sweeping white noise. So it's basically like an additional filter when you're on the noise option on oscillator 1. If we move on, the next shape is a super saw shape, which is the big detuned saw sound, the famous detuned saw sound. And again, when you click on this wave shape, then these 2 knobs become active, and you have a detune and mix control, overall mix control of the super saw sound. And if you move to the last one, then you have a feedback oscillator as well. And as you probably are guessing, when you're on a feedback shape, these are the controls that become active, and you have control over the overall harmonic content, the feedback, and again you see the sweep knob that you saw in the noise. So it comes from the same source, modulation source, which is this pitch sweep LFO over here. So you have a lot of options on OSC1, and if you go to the modulation section, you also get an X mod option on this oscillator, which is basically FM coming from OSC2 to this OSC1. And the options for the FM are either straight up or with the X mod envelope, which is this one, the pitch mod envelope. So you can get enveloped FM or straight up FM. So you have a ton of options for shaping the oscillator of OSC1. And OSC2 can also be shaped kind of beyond the conventional normal wave shapes by just syncing it to the first oscillator and playing around with the aftertouch and the modulation options. The last thing you can look at the oscillators is the pulse width. The pulse width modulation of each oscillator has its own dedicated built-in LFO inside with a free running rate knob. So you're not sacrificing any of the LFOs in order to do the pulse width modulation. So let's move on. After the oscillator section, we have the main filter section. And this is a cool thing about this device. The filter is actually coming from Sonic Core technology from their Minimax filter. This is the exact same filter that you'll find in the Minimax. And we think it is interacting very well with these type of oscillator section that we have set up over here. So again, this is just the basic Minimax filter, and you have a modulation controls as well as aftertouch. Again, bipolar aftertouch to control the cutoff width. So in the dedicated filter envelope, dedicated amp envelope, and the pitch mod envelope that we saw before, all the envelopes have a decay randomize option. What this does is it adds a little bit of random decay to the envelopes. This is only going in positive direction, so you'll never get your envelopes cutting out. You'll never get like really short stuff. This only adds to the envelope. It never detracts from the envelope. It's really cool if you're running sequence sort of stuff. Maybe not so much for keyboardists, but really cool for electronic musicians, and gives a really sort of dynamic feel to sequence loops. Makes them come alive, basically. As you see, I'd like to just mention before we talk about the effects, On this synth, everything is on one panel. There is no paneling. There are no additional features. Everything that you need to sculpt the sound is right in front of your face. And every single modulation source is dedicated pretty much. So the filter has its own envelope, its own LFO. The pitch and the sweeps and all that stuff for the oscillators have their own LFO. There's a dedicated pitch and mod envelope and a dedicated amp envelope. So everything is pretty much dedicated. And it allows you to really get wild with controlling the sound and modulating the sound. The next thing is the effects section, which really adds a lot of character to the synth. As you can see, there are a bunch of effects, actually 5 effects. The first one is over here on top, actually. It's the EQ. It is low and high shelf EQ. Then we have a phaser with a lot of knobs actually for a phaser, a chorus, and a stereo delay. And right over here at the end, on the output section, we have a punch option, which kind of actually gives a little bit of a extra push to some sounds. It kind of punches the transients of the attack portion and kind of levels the sound a little bit. It's not good for all the sounds, but it will make a lot of the sounds that are coming out really nice. So play around with this knob button, actually. So the last thing I want to mention is actually the mix section itself. You have the traditional kind of crossway between OSC1 and OSC2. You also have a ring modulator, which works really nice with the types of sounds that are coming out from these oscillators. And you have an HP tracking feature, which is pretty interesting. What it does is it's a high-pass filter that's right after the oscillator section. And the cutoff of this oscillator is basically the incoming, it's a relation of the incoming MIDI pitch data. So what it basically does is it kind of cuts off all the sound before the very first harmonic of the sound. And it really kind of helps to clean up a lot of the sounds coming out of this thing. So if you're making like a bass line or something like that, you obviously will not want to turn this on. But if you're making something like sort of sweeping pads and stuff like that, then it's really useful. It's also really useful in situations where you have a lot of crazy FM and ring modulation and like ultra low kind of stuff that would normally come out. So you can just click this HP track button and it'll really smooth out your sound and clean it up a little bit. So some of the sounds you could get from this thing. Anything from pads to effects. The sounds are really big. So we're still in the process of developing banks, but you already see that the synth comes with a lot of really cool presets. Really cool for drones and pads. So thanks for checking this out. You can find this synth on our website, www.oceanswift.net, or on the Sonic Core website. Feel free to download the demo and check it out. And we hope you enjoy this synth and our other devices. See you later. Thank you.